Mama, something ያብረቀርቃል ሲያምር የቡሄዳ ቦ ይውት ሙልሙል ወመሰሰብሰብ ሙሄ እንበል ሙሄ ካለፈ የለም ክረምት ዶሮ ከጮኸ የለም ሌሊት ያመት ክብራችን ከጥንቴም የቡሄ ለታ ጭቦ ሲወጣ ደሞ ከየቤት ሙሉም ይምጣ ሆያ ሆዬ ጉዴ ጨዋታ ነው ልማዴ ሆያ ሆዬ
Meles Zenawi's first-year memorial marched on Tuesday at Gulele Botanic Garden. Foreign diplomats and scholars underscore Meles' leadership to stimulate Africans for change. Hello and welcome to this special news bulletin in connection with the first-year memorial of the late Ethiopian Prime Minister Meles Zenawi. With the news, I'm Shmelis Lamma. Former Ethiopian Prime Minister Meles Zenawi's first-year memorial has been marked in Addis Ababa at Gulele Botanic Garden on Tuesday. One of the major events of the day was laying a foundation stone for the establishment of Meles Park and Public Library in the garden. Presidents of Sudan, Djibouti and Somalia and Vice President of Uganda, senior officials from Rwanda, Kenya and South Sudan have graced the event. We'll bring you the details of this news item as we receive it. Meanwhile, attendants of Meles Zenawi's first-year memorial have visited an exhibition revealing the personality and contributions of the late Premier. The visitors have expressed their feelings over what they saw at the exhibition, which remains open for 15 days as of Thursday. Here is their reactions.
To write, make some big study on policy. It gives very important memory of the departed leader Meles. And as Kenya, Kenya and Ethiopia has very good relations. I was sent by President Kenyatta to represent him because he was out of the country on a long planned trip. But for us to see this, we see the history and where you have come from as a people. And it will help future generations to understand the difficulties of building a nation.
He was very much a natural leader, quite charismatic. I think everyone talks about the intellect and the vision that he brought to the struggle, both to liberate Ethiopia from the Derg, but also to transform the country, both its economy and to sustain its security and its stability.
First of all, the location where this exhibition center is very good to show and express how he was an authority who was protecting the environment. I remember that last year, former Prime Minister Meles Zenawi went to Brazil for the Rio +20. And he was the spokesperson of Africa. So this shows how he was committed. And bringing this center here and showing some pictures of his interest in environment will help people to remember his legacy and continue his advocation on this issue.
It's wonderful to see so many photos that one has never seen before in one place, and it just builds up the history. What is important is the people who participated in that history, so it's wonderful to see them at an early age when they were comrades together sort of fighting, and it's good to you sort of get a glimpse of what it was like behind the scenes by looking at how they are together and in the meetings, out of meetings, relaxing. That's people haven't seen that before. Well, a lot of people haven't seen that before, so I think that's very important.
Elsewhere, scholars of Addis Ababa University held a panel discussion in connection with the first-year memorial of the former Prime Minister Meles Zenawi. The scholars said Meles had played a great role to get the country out of poverty. Saddam Mohammed Sani has more.
The panel discussion was held at Addis Ababa University to honor the contributions of the late Ethiopian Prime Minister Meles Zenawi in building democratic system as well as quality of his leadership toward lifting millions of citizens out of poverty. Dr. Tasa Waldhana represents business and economic sector. While presenting his paper on the overall economic situation of the country, Dr. Tasa said the current progress observed in Ethiopia in different sectors is the result of established democratic system and all-inclusive economic policy designed by former premier. According to Dr. Tasso, Meles Zenawi was a mastermind of poor-centered policy that are able to lift up 3 million citizens from poverty.
The Prime Minister had direct involvement in different policy making. For example, the country's food security policy was designed by the late Prime Minister Meles Zenawi.
Dr. Tarakeng Adebo is also among the researchers on the panel discussion. According to his research, active participation of citizens is a major factor for economic progress as well as poverty reduction in the country. So he said Ethiopia's constitution is indispensable on embracing unity among multicultural of the Ethiopian citizen.
Federalism
Federalism is a system that lets people express themselves freely in a democratic way. Meles was always eager to foster that trend.
The flourishing of different culture and embracing equality among nations and nationalities under the federal constitution has been actually realized through leadership of the late Prime Minister, according to Abona Shagri from Visual and Performing Art College.
The leadership of Meles had a direct relationship towards the improvement of the Ethiopian economy. Besides, his leadership had embraced strong solidarity among Ethiopians.
The panel also recognized that the contribution of the late Prime Minister Meles Zenawi to Africa is paramount.
We have now received the details of the marking of former Ethiopian Prime Minister Meles Zenawi's first-year memorial in Addis Ababa at Gulele Botanic Garden on Tuesday. He was laying a foundation stone for the establishment of Meles Park and Public Library in the garden. Presidents of Sudan, Djibouti and Somalia and Vice President of Uganda, senior officials from Rwanda, Kenya and South Sudan have graced the event. Rahel Teklehanis reports.
It has been a year since the late Prime Minister Meles Zenawi passed away. His first-year memorial has been marked in Addis Ababa at Gulele Botanic Garden on Tuesday. One of the major events of the day was laying a foundation stone for the establishment of Meles Public Park and Library in the garden. The park, which lays on 950 hectares of land and being protected by Addis Ababa administration, was selected to host the park as it is a green area which goes in line with Meles's vision for green development. Presidents of Sudan, Djibouti and Somalia, as well as the Vice President of Uganda, senior officials from Rwanda, Kenya and South Sudan have graced the event with their presence, along with families and friends of the leader. Speaking at the memorial event, Meles Foundation President and widow of the leader, Azem Mesfin, described him as a patriot who aspired for a prosperous nation and better life for Ethiopians. She underlined his and other martyrs' sacrifices should be remembered by all, as it was paid to make life better for the current and generations to come.
His sudden death broke our hearts, and some of us felt like the promising developments may fade away. But what has happened is that his death becomes another source of inspiration which fueled the commitments. I call upon all Ethiopians to use this memorial as an opportunity to renew commitments to development and democracy, which was Meles' vision.
Prime Minister Hailemariam Desalegn said the legacy Meles left behind has enabled the country move forward with the ongoing endeavors for democracy and development building process. He added the strong institutions and party he helped build proved themselves through under any difficulties while they keep meeting the national causes they are apt to succeed.
ክቡራቶ መለስ ሌት ተቀን ሲታትሩ የነበረው
የማስፈጸም ብቃት ያላቸውን ተቋማት የመገንባት ስራ
Mullah's worked day and night to build institutional execution capacities and also in the green economic development, while he led a successful party and government to establish a widely defined democratic system that has recognized and observed rights of individuals and groups at the same time. He was the champion of the poor and relentless speaker of the African continent on a whole host of issues.
Sudanese President Omar Hassan al-Bashir noted Meles Zenawi was a great African leader who did the best he can towards continent's peace and security, development and democracy. He also remembered the leader's unwavering support to peace and stability in the Sudan. Presidents of Djibouti and Somalia also recognized his immense contribution to his and their respective countries, the IGAD region and the entire Africa in their speeches.
Time will never erase the traces of great men. Meles has left a legacy that cannot be forgotten. Through his actions, he was able to touch millions of people, even beyond the borders of his country. Millions for whom he has drawn a new horizon, full of possibilities, and who know now that the key to their destiny is in their hands and not in the hands of others.
It's very clear to all of us that late Prime Minister Meles Zenawi was a great African leader that left legacy and achievements which we all need to sustain and continue to his legacy as a model for our renaissance.
The event came to an end with chairperson of Meles Foundation as a Mesfin laying a cornerstone for the establishment of Meles Public Park and Library. Rahel Taklewanis reporting for ERTN News.
In another account, former U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Jende Fraser, underscored that Meles' leadership has stimulated Africans like the victory of the Battle of Adwa. Meanwhile, Professor of Columbia University, Norman Akbar, said Meles' economic philosophy had the potential to avert world financial crisis. Habib Mohammed has more.
Foreign scholars have shared their views of the late Prime Minister Meles Zenawi on his first year remembrance. Former U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Jende Fraser, expressed Meles as a leader with high commitment to serve the interests of the public. She mentioned that he was unique from other leaders in pursuing mutual respectful foreign ties in a complicated international relationship.
Especially with the United States, which is often called the most powerful nation in the world. Prime Minister Meles didn't seem to notice that or mind at all. He deferred to no one when it came to setting a course for Ethiopia and Africa's future. Still, he managed to build relationships of mutual respect even when there were policy differences and despite somewhat fickle actions and decisions by the West. I can say that he was a consistent friend of the United States and never let us down. Every American president that worked with Prime Minister Meles admired and respected him. And this is true from George H.W. Bush to Bill Clinton to George W. Bush to President Barack Obama.
She underscored Meles' leadership to bring change in Ethiopia in particular and in Africa in general has stimulated the black world like the victory of the Battle of Adwa.
From a Pan-African perspective, his leadership is important to African and black self-determination, and Ethiopia's independent status has inspired generations of young African and black children worldwide. Similarly, Prime Minister Meles' role in the defeat of the Derg and the transformation of Ethiopia's economy to start the process of the liberation of 90 million people from poverty is as profound as that defeat in 1896.
Fraser expressed belief that Meles' anti-poverty campaign would be a milestone experience to mobilize the youth and the whole Africa for change. The establishment of the foundation would be decisive so as to achieve the vision of the Premier, she said. Professor Norman Akbar is a scholar at Columbia University. He described the former Prime Minister as an idea generator that would enable the world economy to grow. The professor said Meles did not adopt the neoliberal approach, as he believes that it will not help to ensure Africans' renaissance. Rather, he followed the developmental state ideology, which aims at filling gaps in the market.
If Arthur Meles were the world's economic policy maker, we would have been spared the Great Recession, and that has sent so many millions into unemployment and poverty in so many countries in the last 5 years. The kind of economic scholarship, the sort of ideas that the Prime Minister propounded, late Prime Minister Arthur Meles engaged in, and what I would like to label, if you like, as a label as Melesonomics or anti-neoliberal heterodox economics, is of the kind of ideas that he was engaged in and interested in, is the further development, and that type of scholarship is promoted by the Meles Foundation.
According to Norman Akbar, the fact shows Meles' political maturity. The ideas of Meles, listened at various international forums, have power to address the world economies, the professor added. He said the idea of Prime Minister Meles has got acceptance by international institutions, including the IMF. Professor Alex Duam, director for Universal Peace Federation, agrees with that.
Well, that's all in this special news edition. Many thanks for staying with us, and have a good time.
Ethiopians and partners of Ethiopia marked first year of Meles Zenawi Memorial in Addis Ababa at Gulale Botanic Center. The events aim at laying a foundation to maintain his legacy in institutional ways. Speaking at the opening of the memorial event, Ethiopian Prime Minister Haile Mariam Desalegn said the sudden death of the former leader is a great loss not only for Ethiopians but also for Africans. But Ethiopians are struggling their best to maintain his legacy and achieve his vision.
የህዝብ ድርጅት ስለሆነ በምንም መልኩ ወደ ቀውስ የሚገባ ሳይሆን በመርህ እየተመራ እርሳቸው የጀመሩትን ማስቀጠል ችሏል። የኢትዮጵያ ህዳሴ ጎዳና የቀየሱልን ታላቁ መሪያችን ለሚቀጥሉት በርካታ ዓመታት ህዳሴያችንን ለማረጋገጥ የሚያስችል ሁኔታ ውስጥ አስቀምጠውን መስዋዕት ሆነዋል።
The Premier stated Meles was both an inspired and inspiring leader who could establish constitutionalism and right development policy for his country. He laid the foundation for development of the nation by designing the right homegrown policies that are being implemented, he added. Haile Mariam stressed Ethiopia will continue its efforts to sustain his legacies by implementing the green development policy he designed and other contributions he made. Meles Memorial Public Library and Park have been launched in the area. It will serve as center of excellence to maintain the contributions of the late Premier. Azib Masfin, widow of Meles Zenawi and the chairboard of the Meles Foundation, for her part narrated what the legend did in his lifetime for his people.
የፈጣንና ፍትሃዊ ልማት ርብርብ እንዲቀጣጠል ፈር የቀደደ የዛሬዋ አዲሷ ኢትዮጵያ ሐናጺና መሪ ነበር።
He was visionary leader that had worked to transform his country in all aspects. What Ethiopia used to be over 20 years back is different from the one we are living in now because he devoted his life to change the nation. The new generation needs to make up their mind to sustain his contributions.
Eradicating poverty, maintaining peace and good governance, and changing the livelihood of Ethiopian people was his natural vision, as he remarked. She uttered he was real teacher and architect of his nation. He received the impoverished Ethiopia but transferred the developing and the changing nation to the new generation. Despite different negative views and opinions about his legacy, Ethiopians are working hard to sustain his legacy. She also asked the new generation to renew their commitment to transform their motherland. The newly launched Mallas Memorial Public Library and Park in Gulalle Botanic Center shall also help maintain his legacy, she added. Leaders from Republic of Sudan, Kenya, Djibouti, Uganda, Rwanda, South Sudan and Somalia attended the event and paid tribute for the leader Africa has lost. Ismail Omar Gile, president of Djibouti, underscores that the continent has lost a irreplaceable leader who has competitive ideas.
If one thing must remain, it is his work, his valuable ideas, his considerable knowledge, and his timeless vision of a great Africa.
The president said, "We all are keen to maintain his contributions for us."
Our duty to remember, in addition to the eternal love we have for him, will inspire us to honor all that he was by continuing the tremendous work.
Regardless of time, the achievements he has contributed for Ethiopia and Africa are unforgotten, the president remarked. The foundation established to sustain his legacy helps to maintain his success and the vision for the next generations beyond the region.
For Africa, in addition to being a charismatic leader, he participated in the revival of African institutions.
President of the Federal Democratic Republic of South Sudan, Salva Kiir Mayardit, through his representative, expressed his shared grief and sorrow on the death of the Prime Minister. The President noted Mallas has contributed a considerable role for dignity of South Sudan and its peace and independence as well. The late leader had been voice of voiceless and contributors for Africa's economic growth. He mentioned the ongoing infrastructure development across the two nations. He called on the gathering to keep achievements of Mallas for the generation to come. Paul Kagame, president of Rwanda, who is also a friend of the Prime Minister, sent his message through his representative saying that Mallas has dedicated his life searching for answers for challenges. The transformational leadership he had followed helped to reduce poverty in the country in the last 20 years. The green development policy he designed is one of the contributions he left for his people. Omar Hassan al-Bashir, president of the Republic of Sudan, stated on the occasion that Mallas has played a significant role to resolve the conflict between the two Sudans and maintain peace in the region. Edward Kwanuka Sekandi, Vice President of Uganda, has presented his heartfelt sorrow on the days of Mallas. He stressed African leaders shall utilize the legacy of the leader for the good of the continent. Hassan Sheikh Mohammed, President of Somalia, has also expressed his sorrow over the loss of the leader on behalf of people of Somalia and himself. The president said the works of Mallas has significantly helped Ethiopia to register a double economic growth in the last 20 years.
We need to look back and see all the achievements that Ethiopia has been making for the last 2 decades under the leadership of late Prime Minister Mallas Zenawi, such as the infrastructure, the human resources development, economic growth, and mega development projects which include farming and industrialization in this country.
The role of Ethiopia to fight against extremism, poverty and other challenges under Mallas' leadership was immense, he remarked. He expressed his hope that the new leadership will follow his legacy and realize his vision. If all African leaders united, they can solve any challenges they might face in the future in the region.
The African Renaissance that we all dreamed of is beginning to happen.
So much, yeah, so much. So tell me, can you feel it? So much, yeah, so much. Then make that visit. So much love.
Meles Zenawi was a unique person with immense gifts that, if you look around, not many people possess. And so that alone stood him out. But more important, and he overcame them, which is what? The can-do spirit. That human spirit that does not yield to challenges, but the spirit that always seeks to overcome.
Meles Zenawi represented the leadership in the true sense. The leadership which has a vision, which has a project for development, and which has a dedicated effort to pursue this project and put it into the right path and achievement to success. The late great Prime Minister was this kind of the unique visionary leaders who represent a mix of a rebel, revolutionary. He led a revolution which toppled a regime. He put the foundations of a new revolution, of a new regime. He was able to put his country on the right path for development.
Former Prime Minister Meles Zenawi was a key leader in Africa's transformation, in transformation of our economies, as he was the leading chief regarding, and leading mind also regarding the evolution of NEPAD, the APRM, but he was also extremely creative and bold in developing his ideas within our summits, and I believe that Prime Minister Meles will be remembered as one of the most influential leaders during the last 20 years.
We are proud of this man because the dignity of Africa he was defending vigorously. He believed on Africa. He believed also on the people of Africa. And he showed every time his commitment to fight against poverty, to fight against this low position Africa was occupying in the international area. And for that, Mr. Meles must stay definitely in our mind.
Prime Minister Meles, he played a very crucial role. From the very beginning of his term in office, the Prime Minister has been an ardent Pan-Africanist, and he became a lead speaker in most of the issues, climate change, on NEPAD, and all the major issues that are confronting the continent. And you know, of course, that Ethiopia is playing a great role in peacekeeping in different countries, and Prime Minister Meles at the United Nations, World Economic and Rio Plus, the climate change conference, he's a lead speaker. He was a lead speaker. We all miss him. He was a bright star in Africa, and he would have propelled Africa forward.
Let me just recall one incident. Remember, there was a discussion about environment at one time when we were looking at what kind of position should be taken. It went up to Rio. In this continent, there was a group of leaders who were constituted to fashion out the position of Africa. Prime Minister Meles was the chair of that group, and I attended 2 of the meetings. Like everywhere, he tried to bring Africa together to have a common position, and he used to say, if we don't know where we are going, then anything will lead us astray. He wanted Africa to be sure of their own importance, to be sure of what they want to do and how their future should be. And he energized his colleagues. He was far ahead of them in making sure that Africa defined its own direction, and that it is not defined for Africa from other places.
Meles Zenawi did not shy away from admitting things as they were. He admitted them. But he did not stop there. In admitting things as they were, he also provided options. So he was one who would say, Africans must take charge of their affairs. Africans must rise for themselves, not for others. And Africa must act, not because somebody said Africa should and must, but Africa, in the way he saw the continent, had a responsibility to do things for its own good. So combined in him and given his ability and capacity to work, there were very few leaders, or have been in the history of Africa, very few leaders that have worked with the energy, the commitment, and restlessness that he brought to his office when he was alive.
He was the first leader to request that an international team came in Rwanda to investigate what happened and to take lessons from what happened in Rwanda. The eminent personalities team from the African Union, it was the initiative of Meles Zenawi. So from the experience of Rwanda, he has built a whole vision of peace in the region. You know how Ethiopia has been helpful in different area of this continent. You can take Somalia, the pacification of Somalia. You can take the situation in Sudan, both Sudan now, Sudan and South Sudan, but before the big Sudan. The vision of Meles Zenawi was even bigger than Africa.
As Africans, and now we are celebrating the 50th, of course, none of us can forget the leader, Meles Zenawi. Not the president of Ethiopia, but the leader, African leader in general. Because what he had left for us, the legacies of the late Prime Minister Meles Zenawi, is for all of us. And I think he had a way for the African leaders in general, how to manage their way in the future, not only in the liberation of the will of the people, but also in the development of the countries, the different countries in Africa, and how to unite the people of their own.
The late Prime Minister's contribution to the causes of peace and security in the region. He was behind so many successful mediation between the brotherly and sisterly countries in our continent. He was very instrumental in promoting the cause of peace and security, and this is very crucial because there is an organic link between peace and security and development. Both are two faces of one coin, and pushing development also has its positive repercussion on peace and security. Pushing peace and security has its repercussion on development, and really the visionary leader Meles Zenawi was successful on both tracks.
Late Prime Minister Meles Zenawi, it's now on record, he played a very big role, first of all in his own country, Ethiopia, but also at a continental level. He was our chairman of NEPAD Orientation Committee The committee I told you is responsible for strategic thinking regarding infrastructure development, regarding agriculture, food security, and all those strategic things. He was also chairman of the Committee of 10 on climate change, and he played a very important role in advocating the position of Africa to the G8 and the G20. He was very, very, very instrumental in participating in all these the COP series, and generally he was a good voice for Africa. He was a focused prime minister. He knew what Africa needs, and he knew how Africa should be defended. So we are ever grateful to him, and during this anniversary is one of the persons that will be recognized.
He can't die. He left. We didn't see him, but his action will remain with us until our end also. It is absolutely sure. He did a very nice thing, show how the progress in Addis Ababa. If you come Addis, you were here 10 years before, and you come here today, you will see that he achieved very, very important things, and it is for the dignity of the continent and for the dignity of the people of Ethiopia.
He has been the voice of Africa for the problem of environment. He has been the voice of Africa for the peer review mechanism in view to have good governance from within, from Africa, to think ourselves what we have to do for our people and to scrutinize ourselves as leadership of Africa, how to do better. That is very Pan-Africanist. But even from within the country, it has been an example to develop the people, because the leadership that Africa needs is the leadership which don't look to itself, but the leadership which look the interest of the people. When you see how Ethiopia has developed during the tenure of late Prime Minister Meles Zenawi, you can understand how this leader was really the leader for his people. So from within, has built, he has contributed for the region, for the continent, and even for the world.
Meles Zenawi was very, very active when it came to all the African Union agenda. I think he was key in issues relating to development, issues relating to climate change, issues relating to governance, and also, obviously, issues relating to peace and security.
As we are celebrating this occasion of the 50th anniversary, of course, it is an occasion to remember and to pay tribute and to acknowledge the role played by our great African leaders, and definitely Meles Zenawi comes on the top list of those visionary leaders who worked hardly for a better future of our beloved continent.
And so when he died, naturally, there was this outpouring of emotion, not just here in Ethiopia, not just within East Africa and Horn, but across the entire continent and around the world. His death was felt because a unique leader had died. Indeed, we hope that someday another person, Africa again will have another leader of the class, of the caliber, and of the strength of Meles Zenawi.
So tell me, can you feel it? So much, love, then make that visit. So much love. በአዲስ ተስፋ ውጥኑን እናድሰው በመንፈሱ ተመልሶ ሲያየው ይፍራ የኛን ተሃድሶ እንነሳ ዓላማው አንድ ሆነን ታግሎልናል ገራም ሊያድነን እንበርታ እንጂ የምን ዋይ 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 እናብዛው በምቱ ያገርን ሕይወቱን በሙሉ ሰጥቶ ላገር እንቅልፍ ያጣበት የኛን ነገር
ያገላበጣቸው መጻሕፍቱ የኢትዮጵያ ልማት የሚከፍቱ
ነዶ እየቀለጠን እንደ ሻማ ጊዜውን ከነፍሱ የተሻማ
እሱ ከራሱ ላይ ቀን ቀምቶ ለአገር ነው የኖረው ተጨምቶ
መቼ በቃ መነገሩ ድልድይ ሆኖ ለአገሩ ቤቱን ዘመን ማሻገሩ ከጨለማ የሚያወጣን በማለፉ ሐዘን ቀጣን እንጽናና እሱን ያዝራን በጣለልን መሰረት እንሰራለን በአንድነት አወረሰን ጀግንነት ከጨለማ የሚያወጣን በማለፉ ሐዘን ቀጣን እንጽናና እሱን ያዝራን በጣለልን መሰረት እንሰራለን በአንድነት አወረሰን ጀግንነት በጣለልን መሰረት እንሰራለን በአንድነት አወረሰን ጀግንነት የሊቃውራ ትልቁን ሰው በአዲስ ተስፋ ውጥኑን እናድሰው በመንፈሱ ተመልሶ ሲያየው ይፍራ የኛን ተሃድሶ እንነሳ ዓላማው አንድ ሆነን ታግሎልናል ገራም ሊያድነን እንበርታ እንጂ የምን ዋይ 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 እናብዛው በምቱ ያገርን
ዳር ከዳር ዳርሷል ጤናውን አብርቷል ጥበብ ፋናውን የቀረው በቀሪው ይዘመታል የጀግና ሰው ክንዱ መች ይሞታል
ተሳስቧልና ለአዲስ ዓለም ሕግጋትን ሊያመጣ በኢትዮጵያ
በእግሩ ተተክተን እንታገል ቢለየንም አልፋ ነፍሱ ባትገኝ ምስር ኳሱ ይበረራል በመንፈሱ ከልማታው ያለ ረፍት ሳያሰኘው መዝናናት ከፍቶ ሌላ መዝናናት እነሱ ነው የእውቀት ሙዳት የማይተኛ በአገር ጉዳይ ጀግንነትን ሳይኖረዳይ ከልማታው ያለ ረፍት ሳያሰኘው መዝናናት ከፍቶ ሌላ መዝናናት እነሱ ነው የእውቀት ሙዳት የማይተኛ በአገር ጉዳይ ጀግንነትን ሳይኖረዳይ እነሱ ነው የእውቀት ሙዳት የማይተኛ በአገር ጉዳይ ጀግንነትን ሳይኖረዳይ የሊቃውራ ትልቁን ሰው በአዲስ ተስፋ ውጥኑን እናድሰው በመንፈሱ ተመልሶ ሲያየው ይፍራ የኛንም ተሃድሶ እንነሳ ዓላማው አንድ ሆነን ታግሎልናል ገራም ሊያድነን እንበርታ
ሲኖር ትላንትና በቅድ ያዛቸዋልና
የጸነሳቸውን ወልደንል በስሙ እንዲጠሩህ እናርግልን ነበር ያገር መሶብ ያገር ሌማት እንጀራን ፈጣሪ በአዲስ ዘመን እሱ ባለ ራዕይ ታላቅ ጀግና አባይን ለመያዝ መች ፈራና
የሰላም አምባሳደር የአፍሪካ ህዝብ አባት ግዳጆቻችን በሚገባ ተወጥተናል። አሁን የቀረን ጠላት ድህነትን መዋጋት ነው። ኢትዮጵያ ለዘላለም ትኑር።
አንተኖ ያምልክ አላኝ የውልህ አላኝ ሰውየው ያምልክ አላኝ እንካ
ምስጋና ይድረሰው የሰላም ሐዋርያ አበጽጎ ሰጠን እናት ኢትዮጵያ ሰላም ፍቅር ሰፈነ በወገናችን ኢትዮጵያ አደገች እንኳን ደስ አላችሁ ፍቅር የሞላበት ብሔር ብሔረሰብ አይፈልግም ብድር ለሰላም ሞተዋል እንኳን ለዚህ ችግር ስንት ጀግኖች አልፏል ለህዝባቸው ክብር ነፍሳቸው ሰውተው እኛን አኖሩን በምድር ሰሜን ደቡብ ምዕራብ ምስራቅ አንድ በሆነበት ሰላም በሞላበት ፍቅር ባደረበት ሀገር እድገት ጨመረበት የሃይማኖት ምስጢር ትውልድ አቆጥ ይለፍ ያሳለፈው ችግር
ይኸው ነው
አቤት ስንቶች ተሰውልሽ ሀገሬ ኢትዮጵያ ሰላም ሰፈነብሽ ሆንሽ መመኪያ እንኳን ጠላት ብርድማ ያስገባ ለመከላከያ ለህዝብ ለሚኖር ለኢትዮጵያ ወታደር ይገባዋል ክብር እለታለው ሊደር ይዛለው ብሬን ለህዝብ የሞታለው ሰላም ይስተዋሜን ጠላት ቢሰማራ በግብረ ሽበራ ሌላ ምንቀሽፋለን እንኳን ለዚህ ሴራ ስማችን ሲነሳ አይንቀጥቀጥ ተራራ ጀግንነተኛ ነው የሀረር ለጉራ ባንዲራችን ተሰቀለች ባለም ተከበረች ካደጉት ሀገራት መሀል ትሰለፋለች
የማገልጽ ነው የማገልጽ ነው ለሰሚው
አንተ ሰው የምልህ አለኝ የውልህ አለኝ ስለኔ ቤተሰቦን ጉልህ ቀናገር መለስ በለልኝ
ወደፊት የምን ወደ ኋላ መለስ የተወልን አለልን አሻራ ውለታውን መልስ በልማት በስራ ወጣቶች ተነሳ አደራውኛ ነው ፍቅር ሰፍነብናል እግዚአብሔርና መስግነው አንፈልግም ጥይት አንፈልግም ብረት ጠላት አይደፍረን ሰርተናል ጀግንነት እንኳን ለማይረባ ለዚህ ሽብርነት ስንት ጀግኖች አልፏል በስንት ጦርነት አይኔ ብርሃኔ ግልገል ግቤን አይቶ የመጪው ህዳሴ ካሁን ተረቶ ለዘላለም ይኑር ዘላለም እንዲኖር ብሔረሰብ ሁሉ እኩል እንዲከበር
ወልዱቤ መለስ አይመለስ
በስራ አንዱ ሆኖ ደቡብ አንዱ ቢሆን ሰሜን አንዱ ባንዲራ ለመችም አይለያየን አንዱ ምስራቅ ሆኖ አንዱ ቢሆን ምዕራብ አንድነት አለች የምንጸለልባት እንሰራለን በአንድነት አግኝተናል ነፃነት የሀገር ፍቅር አለን ታማኝነት ለሁሉም አመራር እዚህ ላደረሱ ተቋቁሞ ችግር ሰርተን መልሰው ውለታን በምድር የብሔሮች ህብር የኢትዮጵያ ወታደር አየር ኃይላችን በአየር ከንፎ ልክ እንደ ንስር አኖሩን በክብር
አብሎ ያምልካላኝ የውልህ አላኝ ሰውየው ያምልካላኝ ስጋ ወዳጅ ባለም ጥበብና ባናኳንዴም በእርግጠኛነትህ ኑር ሁሌም
አንተ ሰው የምልሃለኝ የውልህ አለኝ ስለኔ ቤዛ ሆንክልኝ ቀና በል መለስ በልልኝ
ባለም ጥበብና ባናኳንዴም በእርግጠኛነትህ ኑር ሁሌም
አደራህን ተቀብለናል ባትኖርም እንኳን አሻራ
آخر بساعات تلويلو وفر ملس لمعات درس حازم لهاد شو سرعات سرق يتركس تراها تقالس قيت لمن زور سخولس دقين كرامل